in the country.
Whenever you're ready.
Today is Wednesday, July 14th, 2004, and this is the beginning of an interview with Sam Carrubba at the Tucson VA Hospital at 2601 South 6th Avenue in Tucson, Arizona. My name is Ben Rockbach, and I am the interviewer. Assisting with this interview is Michael Eaton. We were introduced to Sam Carrubba by the VA hospital. Mr. Carrubba, could you please state for the recording which war and branch of the military you served in?
I served in World War II in the U.S. Army,
What was your rank?
PFC,
Where did you serve? Where did you serve?
in Europe.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I voluntarily enlisted and drafted, actually,
Where were you living at the time?
in Brooklyn, New York.
Can you tell us about your boot camp experiences?
Yeah, I went through basic training in Mississippi, in a little town called Camp Van Dorn, Mississippi. And I trained there as a machine gunner and mortarman and rifleman. And it was 13 weeks that we trained. And after the 13 weeks was over, suddenly they picked me out and they sent me to radio school. I went to radio school in the same camp and completed the radio school training, which was the Morse code and audio. No video. We didn't have video in those days. We didn't have anything like that. But we had the radio. It was called, I think it was the 284 radio. But anyway, I was trained as a radio man after the basic training, and I was shipped overseas before the division. I went into England before the division left for overseas duty. And I consider myself one of the lucky ones that came back from the war, actually. But anyway, when I went into England, I was assigned to the 7th Armored Division, 38th. Actually, I wasn't in 38th at that time. I was in a service battalion, company rather. And it ended up, we went into combat in around August of 1944. And we were in France, actually. And when we went through several campaigns in France, and we ran out of gas a few times. I was with Patton's Third Army, actually. Our division was assigned to them. But anyway, we ended up we liberated quite a few towns in France, and it ended up we ran out of gas a few times. In order to fuel our vehicles, we had to have gas. But anyway, one day we were loading the trucks with gas, into 5-gallon cans of gas, and I ended up I was on top of the truck loading the gas, and it was raining. But anyway, when I jumped off the truck, I sprained my ankle. And at that time, actually, I didn't sprain it, I actually broke it. But they said I had a bad sprain. I was off duty for about 3 weeks to a month, something like that. And then I went back and I was reassigned after my healed up. I was on crutches for about a month. And then went back into combat again in about October, November of 1944. And we were in Holland by then. And then we were in, I don't know what else you want to know, but anyway, we went through several campaigns in Holland, and then we ended up that we were reassigned to the 9th Army in northern Germany. We were supposed to start an offensive up there when we were rerouted back into the Battle of the Bulge in a little town called St. Vit from 9th Army, and we were reassigned to the 3rd Army again. And in the Battle of the Bulge, it was very cold and snowy, and we got shelled pretty heavy in those days from the Germans, anyway, the Nazis, I call them. But anyway, I was one of the lucky guys that came home from the war. The real veterans all laying there in graves, you know. What else do you want to know?
Did you, in Europe when you were serving, did you go anywhere besides Holland, Germany, and France?
Oh, we went into France, Holland, Belgium, Germany, and that's about it as far as we were assigned to. At the one time, we were assigned to the British 2nd Army in Holland. But being that we were mechanized, we were able to do that, you know. But then we ended up in Battle of the Bulge, and it was very cold, snowy, and extremely cold. Let's put it that way. I think it was the coldest ever in this area of the country at that time. And then that's when I don't know. I don't remember now. Let me think. We lost our. I was assigned to an anti-tank platoon. Even the fact that I was a radio operator and a rifleman at the time, I was had a MOS as a rifleman and a machine gunner. They assigned me at that time to an anti-tank platoon, and they taught me how to fire a 57 millimeter anti-tank gun, which was useless at the time when it hit a tank. But anyway, we were assigned in the Battle of the Bulge, and we lost this town of St. Vit once, and we had to go back after we retreated and came back, and we ended up taking the town again in St. Vit, Belgium, that is. And well, if you want to know the few experiences, like I said, there's one town near the town of St. Vit. I don't know exactly what the name of the town was. We were in that barn at the time trying to stay warm. And we ended up, when somebody yelled down in we were in this here fruit cellar of the barn, which was warmer than being outside at that time. Somebody yelled out, "Let's go, let's get the hell out of here." And when I ran out in between two oxen, if you know what I'm talking about, the oxen in their stalls. And these oxen, when I went through them, you know, they closed up on me and held me there. They held me there, for about 30 or 40 seconds, you know, and then they released me, and I ran through them, and I ran out of the barn into this, and there was tracer bullets hitting this here, the brick part of the barn, the stone part of the barn, and these tracer bullets were hitting the barn in front of me. So I feel that these oxen saved my life at the time, in that particular incident. And one of the bullets came off, ricocheted and hit me in the arm, over here in this here right arm, and was treated for it, but I never got a Purple Heart for it. But I don't know if the medic was killed or anything after that. But anyway, I treated myself actually with the wound. I pulled a bullet. It was a ricochet bullet. I pulled it out of my arm and went on from there. And then we continued on into Germany after the Battle of the Bulge. It started to get a little warmer, and then practically the war was over after that. But like I said, I was one of the lucky ones to come home. All my friends, there was one little incident in Holland where one of my fellow soldiers, he was a Jeep driver, he was accidentally killed by one of our own men. It was an accident though. In 1994, we went back. We called it the friendly invasion. It's 107 of us from our division. We went back. We called it 1994. This was 1944 when we had the invasion. We liberated those towns, and we ended up in the towns that we liberated. We were treated pretty good, though. But I visited with my friend's grave in Holland. You know, it was sad, and it tore me up a little bit. But anyway, that's the story. You want to know more? You're gonna have to ask me questions.
Yeah. Just going back a little bit, what was it like when you first arrived in Europe?
When I first arrived, we went to England. I landed in Scotland, actually in Glasgow, and then we were trained down into England, and we were in this little town. I forget the name of the town in England, and we were treated pretty good. And the people, the English people, the first night I was there, we got bombed, and they knew that we were coming. I guess some kind of espionage went on, but anyway, they missed us, But the first night I was there, we got bombed by planes, from the Germans, and I don't know. Ask me.
But the English people were very friendly towards you?
Oh, yeah. They liked our cigarettes at that time. I don't smoke anymore, but we used to get free cigarettes there. But they used to like our cigarettes.
What was your assignment in Europe when you were out there?
What was I assigned to? Like I said, I was with the anti-tank platoon. We were on a half track. We pulled we had the cannon in back of us, and when I came back, this here fella, there's one fella in my outfit that was, he had taken photos of us. And we used to tease him and say, hey, you can't get them even developed, He had a little camera with him. And what happened was his son, after we came back from Europe in 1994, his son called me up. Before, don't get ahead of myself. He got in touch with a few of the guys that went on this trip to Europe in 1994, and he wanted to know if anybody knew his father. His father was in my platoon. His name was Walter Johnston. Anyway, his father had died when he was 7 years old. And like I said, his father had taken photos. And after 50 years now, all of a sudden he called me up to find out if I knew his father, and I said, yes, I did. And he said he had all the photos that his father had taken. And those pictures, I have them today. I have 66 photos of the time that we were in Europe from his father. His father had died, but he was able to, I have the photos home. And if you want them, I can have them. You can have them. But and then I also have training films when I was in training. And his son he's writing an article. He has a website of our division and of our particular battalion. He's on the internet. It's called the 7th Armored Division, 38th Armored Infantry Battalion. It's a website on the internet. It's unbelievable, but you have to see it to understand it.
How much combat did you see?
How much combat? Well, I went through 4 4 battle stars. That's from August till December of 44. Yeah.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
Oh yes, there's a lot. Yeah, a lot of casualties. Yeah.
Can you tell us about a couple of your most memorable experiences, both good and bad?
No, let's see. Well, the bad one I remember the most is about my friend not being killed accidentally. I didn't like that. It bothered me. And to this day it bothers me, that he was accidentally killed. It's a different story that he got killed when you're in combat, it's one thing or another. But being accidentally killed it bothered me. Yeah. Like I said, I'm one of the lucky ones home. Yeah.
Did you have any good, memorable experiences?
I don't know if there's anything good about it. I remember when the Japs bombed Pearl Harbor. I remember it was a Sunday. Of course you weren't born then, but I remember we had a party that Saturday before. That it was a good time. And we had one of our friends was being drafted into the service, and we had a party the Saturday before. And that Sunday in the afternoon, we had gone to the movies. And when we came out, we found out that the Japs had bombed Pearl Harbor. Being a time difference, from New York to Pearl Harbor, and then everybody was up in arms, saying, well, we start cursing them, and one thing or another, using all kinds of, the sneaky sons of bitches, But anyway, it ended up good. Let's put it that way. I mean, we won the war. I don't know if we won it. The way things are going today, I don't know.
Were you a prisoner of war?
No. I almost was. One of my lieutenants in my outfit, his squad was captured in the Battle of the Bulge. And he asked me after I met him, sometime he lived in Phoenix, and he was a retired school teacher from New York. And he moved to Phoenix, and he asked me, he says, how did I get captured? He said, well, I could run faster than you. And he ended up, he's dead now, but his wife still lives in Phoenix, retired school teacher from New York.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
No, just the bronze, the combat infantry badge, and the Bronze Star that goes with it, plus all the other Belgian 40 gear from Belgium that we were awarded that, and the other medals that go with the campaigns, the battle stars. That's it.
How often did you get to write to family and friends back home?
Oh, all the time. We used to write these emails. Of course, there's nothing to write, and then I sent home letters and things. And I do have quite a few war souvenirs home. I didn't know if you wanted them, but I have a Nazi flag that I have, and I sent home a rifle after the war was over, bayonets. I sent 4 hats, 4 of the German hats, the hats that they had. They were pretty nice hats, but they never made it home. I don't know if somebody stole them on the way home. I had them boxed up pretty good.
How often did you receive mail?
All the time. I remember in the Battle of the Bulge, I had received a package from home prior to that, and in the package we had, my aunt had sent me some cookies, and by the time I got them, they were all crumbs, but we ate them anyway, and I had a can of salmon that she sent, and that was my Christmas dinner on Christmas Day in 1944. was a can of salmon. You know, it was good. It was delicious. It tasted like a turkey.
What kind of food were you served?
In the combat, K rations, C rations, K rations. You know, that was it.
What kind of food was in those?
Oh, you had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You had eggs in the morning, eggs, and then dinner. You had I even forgot now what the heck was in it, but you had all kinds of different things, you know. And they had cigarettes in it, and toilet paper, and a candy bar. You know, it was enough to sustain us, you know, and plus whatever we could steal on the way. You know, we would raid an orchard or something like that for apples or something like that. Right? Whatever we can get. You know. There was one time in Holland where it was on Thanksgiving Day. That's the day that my friend was killed, actually, in 1944. It was raining and he got accidentally killed. But anyway, we had a woman in one of the houses. She baked us a pie. The only way she could bake it was we had to have sugar. So we got some sugar from the mess truck, and she baked us a pie. And we had apple pie Thanksgiving Day. It was pretty nice. You know. It was a Holland woman. They were pretty happy that we liberated them. Yeah.
Did you have plenty of supplies, such as food and water?
Oh yeah, yeah. Got plenty of supply.
What type of pressure or stress did you experience? What kind of pressure or stress did you experience aside from?
Well, I tell you were scared all the time. You know, it was pressure, you know. But once you get over the frightening or being afraid, then you get into it. You know, you say, "This is it. I have to do what I have to do." You know, it's a frightening experience just going there. But then after you're there a while, you're still afraid, but you deal with it. You know, not everybody deals with it. A few people didn't deal with it. You know. It was frightening. Let's put it that way. And I was young at the time. I was only 19. Yeah, that's a long time ago. I wish I was 19 again. But I was young, and the fact that they sneaked attacked us, it was a different generation then. We had a lot of people that just wanted to go into the service and take care of things.
How did you deal with that fear? How did you deal with that fear that you felt?
Well, you can overcome it somehow. You know, I did anyway. It just I went in there and you're frightened, you know, and you just say, and after you get into the combat, you just say, well, that's it. You know, you can get killed, you can get hurt, right? The way I looked at it is that you can get hurt just as bad as being afraid or not being afraid. You know, that's the way I dealt with it.
What did you do for good luck?
What?
What did you do for good luck?
Good luck? Well, I had what they call, I'd say I'm a Catholic, and I had this here medallion that I always carried with me. And I always feel it was my lucky charm, you know. And I feel I had a guardian angel all the time, you know. You know, the fact that when I was transferred from the basic training and into radio school, the guys that were in my platoon, there was one particular fella who, they were all shot up. They were all killed in my platoon, in the division that I was in originally, you know, when I trained. When I came back after the war was over, we were reassigned and coming back home, I met a few of them in the Camp Lucky Strike. They called them the cigarette camps after the war was over, when we redeployed back on home. I met a few of them from the division that I was in, originally, basic training, and they told me about the guys that were killed in my platoon. So, I was lucky, that I was reassigned and I can still talk about it. Let's put it that way.
So what kind of medal was that you carried around for your good luck?
It's not a medal. It was it's a medallion. I keep it in my wallet. I don't have it with me right now, but it was in my wallet. It was it's a medallion. It's a little a Catholic medallion.
How did people entertain themselves?
Well, we had entertainment. We had shows. We had USO shows. We used to joke. We used to play cards. And there's one fellow in my outfit. His name was Schultz. We used to call him Schultz. He taught me a card trick in there, and he wouldn't show me how to do it. He said, it's a pretty good card trick. And finally, after a while, I used to threaten him. I said, they wouldn't know if you were dead, if I killed you or somebody else killed you. If you don't show me the trick, I'm going to kill you. And finally he showed me the trick. I could show it to you now too. I still remember it. It's really something.
So what kind of entertainers were there?
We had the USO shows. We had. We used to go back into rest area and get see the shows. And they used to set up these tents, big tents, where you used to go and like vaudeville shows. That's what they were. And there were the dancers and singers and one thing or another. They were nice.
What did you do on leave?
Well, after the war was over, I was able to go to Switzerland. And the war was over at that night, and I went to Switzerland for a furlough. We went through Switzerland. I ended up in Switzerland. Then that was after the war was over, and I was reassigned to an ordnance outfit, and that's how I was discharged from them. Our division was disbanded after the war, when everything was done.
Do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual events?
Humorous? There's always a lot of funny things, going on. I don't remember them really. Funny things? Well, a lot of the towns that we liberated in France, if they were collaborators, I used to laugh at the way that they used to shave their heads. The women, if they were collaborators of the Germans, if they were prostitutes or anything like that, they shaved their heads, and you could pick them out in the crowd, and they knew who they were. You knew who they were. They used to beat them up pretty bad, but I didn't care, you know what I mean? And it was just one of those things.
What did you think of your officers and fellow soldiers?
Oh, the officers were all right. Yeah, I had a pretty good officer. He was drunk most of the time. We used to get a lot of booze on the way, you know what I mean? Cognac and wine. A couple of times we had, there was a wine train. It was full of wine, like a car full of, like a tanker full of wine, and nobody knew how to open it up. So we blew off the spigot, and the wine just kept pouring out, on the ground, so everybody filled their cups with it. That's what's going on. And it was pretty lousy wine, if you ask me. But anyway, I wasn't really a drinker, you know what I mean? And to me, I just went for the hell of it, just drank it, and sipped it, I'm not really a wine drinker. I'm not even a drinker. Never was.
Do you recall the day your service ended?
Oh yeah, when I ended, when it was ended. You mean the day I came home?
Sure.
Oh yeah, we left out of Antwerp, Belgium, and we came home on a ship. It was 12 days across the Atlantic. We ended up in Fort Dix, no, Camp Kilmer, and I was discharged from there. And when I left my house, my home, we didn't have a telephone even in our house, you know. But somehow through the years, when I was gone, my sister installed a telephone in the house. What was that? I think it was the tape. So she installed a telephone in the house, and I didn't even know the phone number, but I called up my house at that time from Camp Kilmer, New Jersey, and called when and I called my mother at the time. She was still alive, and they were so thrilled to, you know, it was nice to be home, you know. Let's put it that way. I couldn't wait to get home.
Where were you when your service ended? Where exactly were you when your service ended?
I was in New Jersey. Then I went back home to Brooklyn, you know.
What did you do in the days and weeks after your service ended?
Well, try to relax and catch up on some sleep, you know, and try to get a job after a while. And it was very hard to get a job in those days because everything was designed for defense. And being young, I had no experience. I ended up being a truck driver. A truck driver from state to state, you know, before they had the interstates. Let's put it that way.
Did you go back to school at all after your service?
No, I didn't go back to school. I needed money, so I went to look for a job. You know. We got $300 mustering out pay at that time, and that, you know, that doesn't go far. You know. So you needed money all the time. You had to go to work.
Did you make any close friendships while in the service?
Yeah, I did. I met a few, yeah. And I was in touch with a couple of them for a while, but they're all dead now.
Did you join a veterans organization?
Yes. I belong to the American Legion and the VFW. Yeah. I'm a service officer for the American Legion.
What careers did you have after the war?
What career? Like I said, I drove a truck in the city of New York. I drove a concrete mixer in the city of New York for a long time, and that's why I'm here. I became allergic to the cement dust, and they told me if I didn't leave New York, I would die. So I said to my doctor at the time, he says, I'll die. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go someplace else. And my wife we had a friend here that lived in Arizona who had asthma, and that's when I developed bronchial asthma, you know. I mean, I never had it as a kid. But anyway, I ended up with bronchial asthma, and my wife decided to drag us over here to Tucson, Arizona, and that's where we lived for 25 years. And I've been treated at the VA hospital here for 25 years.
Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military?
Oh, sure. Yeah. What do you want to know?
How did it influence your thinking?
My thinking? Well, you learn to think about what's right and what's wrong. You know, and at the time when Hitler was killing all those people in the Holocaust, they call them the camps. I don't know if you probably saw pictures of them, but I saw the camps. I was there, and I saw the people that were piled up high, like with their skin and bones hanging out. It was terrible. The smell. You can see the pictures, but you can't really visualize it until you have the smell. It stunk. It was terrible. It was really sickening. The smell was overcoming. But anyway, and that's why you see these people in Iraq now being slaughtered the way they were with Saddam Hussein. I think it's a good idea that we killed him, or went in there and rescued those people.
How did your service experience affect your life?
Well, I don't know. It's always been there. I never forgot it. Let's put it that way. I always remember the war. I always remember it. It never left me.
Hey, I was just wondering, Mr. Carrubba, what the voyage back home was like after you knew you were victorious, and I wonder what the atmosphere was like.
It was very nice. In fact, I have some photos of on the ship that I had taken. You see, a friend of mine took us on the ship coming home. It was a wonderful voyage. It was very pleasing to come back home. You couldn't wait to get back home. And I don't know, when being the fact that I was born in Brooklyn, and I used to see the Statue of Liberty all the time, from where I lived. But when we first came in sight of land, if you're familiar with Coney Island, have you ever heard of Coney Island? They have what they call the parachute jump. That's the first thing I saw when I saw land, was the parachute jump. It was sticking up pretty high, I said, my God, that's wonderful to see that, And we landed in Staten Island, New York. I don't know if you're familiar with that area. But anyway, we landed in Staten Island, and from there we were trained into Camp Kilmer.
What kind of reception was there?
Well, the Red Cross was on the pier, and they gave us little containers of milk, and I'm allergic to milk. But anyway, I didn't know it at the time, but I'm allergic to milk. I have what they call lactose intolerance, and it cramps me up. But anyway, they gave us little containers of milk, and they were, we were all lined up there and come off the ship, and they gave us these little containers of milk.
Is there anything else you'd like to add that we have not covered in this interview?
I don't know. I might show you the photos, which I neglected to bring. I don't know if I should have brought them, but I have a lot of photos in training, and some of the combat photos that maybe I can bring them in later, and you can have them.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the interview.
All right. You're welcome.